So on the upside, you could have more reserve AR ammo than you can in Warzone 1 if you fill up your backpack with AR ammo. Downside is no dedicated slots. I don't like it. And this is a lot more time you're going to have to spend managing your inventory and managing your backpack, which is, again, in the top 3 favorite things about Warzone was how simplified and easy the inventory system was, where I never had to spend time thinking, man, do I need another stack of AR or not? Activision devs do not play their own game. It's not your dad doesn't support you.
You should know, you worked at a coffee shop, you stupid bitch.
My name is Casey, and absolutely not fucking Tanner, because my parents don't hate me that much.
Hey, did they have just 8 patches lined up, but they just didn't release them because they were on break? No, you moron kids.
Then we'll, of course, get into it. Change your fucking name and get scammed. He's feeling under the weather.
I probably won't say another word until Stay Humble, so have a good pod, Raz. I'll be here listening.
Got it. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to a very exciting episode of The Dropshot, a Call of Duty podcast, episode number 264. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. I am joined, as usual, as sometimes by my good friend Tanner. Tanner, how's it going?
Good. What's up?
Good. Not much, man.
That hat is bright right now on your head.
Yeah, it's a bright hat, isn't
glowing.
Yeah, that thing's glowing. It's barking. And welcome to the show. Today, we're doing an episode of the podcast about Call of Duty. If you're new, there are timestamps. You can skip to whatever section you want. Now, what we are doing today is talking all about Warzone 2. What we know so far, and our thoughts on it. So this is sort of like a first impressions, but we're also going to spend a considerable amount of time explaining what the fuck's going on to the best of our ability, because there are still some questions that at least I don't understand, or have the answer to, rather. Tanner might, but we will get into that. I spent this morning about an hour looking at different, mostly YouTube videos, and then a couple of VODs of the Warzone 2 gameplay we've gotten to see, which was, of course, from the COD Next event, the Warzone 2 alpha test. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to give you guys some details, and we are going to give our impressions on Warzone 2. Now, in terms of announcements, I don't think we really have any. Next week, the crossplay beta goes live. Tanner and I have not played the beta because we don't own PlayStations. So we're adults. So we haven't played yet. Next week, we will be able to play the beta. Starting Thursday, I believe. So expect the schedule for next week for the podcast to be a little different. We will keep you guys posted on that. Follow us on Twitter at the Dropshot Pod. We post our schedule there. And we post our schedule in the Discord. All of the links to all of this are in the description or whatever. Or you can just go to thedropshot.com and find links to everything there as well. And then another announcement here. The Patreon's going to go brazy next week. We got a lot of really fucking good content to record that I'm extremely excited to get into. And we're going to start on that next week. Probably put out at least 2, if not 3 episodes next week for the varying tiers. So if you want to listen to those, patreon.com/thedropshot. It's the best way to support the program. We do bonus episodes there. And also we release regular edition episodes such as this one, all of them, early on the Patreon and without ads. So if you wanted an ad-free experience, you could join the Patreon as well, and you'll get some bonus eps on top of that. With that said, anything else we need to announce or mention, Tanner?
No.
Okay. So today we are talking Warzone 2. There is obviously a lot to talk about, and I'm not sure anyone's really going to be able to predict what our opinions are so far. We have a reputation on this program for being very negative, which we've talked about at length recently as well, and other times. And I wouldn't say this is going to be a very negative episode. I wouldn't say we have a negative outlook on Warzone 2. We'll get into it. It's nuanced. So if you're expecting this to just be a shit show, I don't think it's going to be. And I'm not even sure how I totally feel about everything. I think I'm going to crystallize my thoughts a little more as we do this. But Call of Duty did put out a blog post. We are going to start by going through the blog post to maybe edify some things, answer questions you guys might have, maybe even answer some questions we have. I have not yet read this blog post. This was posted on the 15th. I did not know this. Tanner linked to this, which was a nice thing.
Yeah, I haven't really read it either. Kind of skimmed through it. A lot of it I've already seen like parts of on Twitter and whatnot, but this is the whole blog post.
Yeah. So we're going to go through this together. We're not going to necessarily read the whole thing. It appears to be, it's not too long actually, but we're going to go through things that we maybe have missed or haven't talked about. And this might be 30 seconds or 30 minutes. I don't know. So let's get into it. So announcing COD Warzone 2.0, blah, blah, blah. Right now, here's a recap of what was shown at COD Next. Attention! The following briefing represents only the first wave of intel related to Warzone 2.0 and is by no means exhaustive. Look for a number of additional intel drops to come. In addition, the original COD Warzone is continuing on. Okay, so this is important, and I'm actually kind of annoyed that they did not make this far more clear on the actual COD Next broadcast with their words. Because if you're Activision, you have to know half of your player base can't read. And then of the other half that can read, 90% of them don't wanna, and don't know that there are blog posts.
Oh, yeah.
So it really should have been very clearly and repeatedly stated on the broadcast, hey guys, these streamers that are here today for COD Next are going to be playing Warzone 2, but remember, this is an alpha build. This is not representative of what Warzone 2 is going to look like on launch, and there are plenty of features still missing or things that need polish. When I watched Warzone 2, I didn't know that when we were recording our Thursday episode. I had a feeling, but I didn't know that. And then when I was learning a bunch of shit today, I was like, man, I'm really getting the impression that they plan on adding more things to Warzone 2 before launch. I just don't think this is representative of the launch product we're going to get. And it turns out I was correct in that assumption. And they say as much in this blog post. And they really should have made that more clear, because all of the discourse right now on the TL is about how good or bad Warzone 2.0 is based on the alpha gameplay we've seen. But no one is mentioning, except for literally one tweet that I've seen, no one is mentioning that this is not the end state of Warzone 2. This is not the launch state of Warzone 2. So to make like sweeping judgments on Warzone 2 is worse or it's bad or it's great, these are all too early. And if you want to say those things, that's fine, but you need to have the caveat that this is not the launch product. And no one's mentioning that, because I think no one knows that. Because again, no one reads their fucking blog posts. And they really dropped the ball by not mentioning that. What are your thoughts on this? Am I understanding what this sentence means correctly, Tanner?
Well, aren't they just saying they're going to drop more intel, like more information about Warzone? They're not saying it's going to be different, are they?
Well, it wouldn't make sense for them to drop intel we didn't get if the alpha gameplay we saw was the final product.
Well, it's
then
probably
there
just
would be
more
no new
detailed
intel.
on stuff about like talking about how the loadouts work or shit like that, or talking about how the strongholds work exactly. That's kind of what I'm assuming. I don't know. Because they keep
we
saying,
have learned that from just watching the people play.
yeah, well, they only played like 3 or 4 games. You really didn't see much at all. Half the time, no one. I still, from all the streams we watch, I never saw anyone actually go up to a buy station, not once. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of stuff still based off that.
In that JGod video, that's where I pulled those screenshots of the buy station from.
Yeah. See, that's like the first thing I've seen from the buy stations are like those screenshots. But I never, all the streams we were watching and shit, I never once saw anyone even go to them.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because now I'm confused again. Do you think that on launch, the Warzone 2 is going to not have anything else than it had in the alpha?
I think it'll be very, very similar, yes. I think if anything, it'll be bug fixes, a little bit of polish here and there, maybe little changes that we'll get into of things that need to be fixed, like the looting system or something. But I don't think we're going to see any drastic changes.
Drops or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Not on launch.
Okay. So one thing on that topic before we get into this. This is kind of a detour, sorry, but I think it's worth mentioning here. Charlie Intel made a tweet about multiplayer in MW2, and he was like, or they were like, yeah, so we got to play like a super early build, and the mini-map was like a classic COD mini-map. That's why we like thought that was the case, but then they changed it for the alpha you guys saw at COD Next and the beta. And that was interesting to me because it's on the, so to bring that to Warzone, I think it's super possible they change some things, maybe even fairly big things, or even add things in. For example, if they wanted lootable perks in the game, it would be very easy for them to like code it in, remove it from the ground loot pool for the alpha, and then add them in before launch. For example, I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I'm saying if they wanted to do that, it would be very easy in that example. And then there's another thing. There are no loadouts there were no loadouts in Warzone 2.0. No free loadout dropped ever. And also you couldn't buy a loadout crate. You couldn't earn a loadout crate. There's no such thing as loadout crates. The only thing you can buy is a loadout weapon, like one gun, like one of your custom guns. And people, this is a very big sticking point for a lot of people, myself included. But Ralph's Valve, leaker extraordinaire, tweeted yesterday, loadouts are also in Warzone 2.0, so don't fret. Keep in mind, internally, QA consists of only a limited pool of testers. So Next, Call of Duty Next, served better for risks they were considering. I don't know what that sentence means. But,
I think they want to test it out and see what feedback is like, is what he's saying. See if people hated it, see if people liked it. But of course everyone's going to hate it on its face.
Yeah, of course they are, I agree. So, according to him at least, there will be loadouts in Warzone 2.0. Like loadout full crates, not just being able to buy one weapon. I don't know. I don't know if I believe this or not. I could totally see it going either way. But if you're like really seething that there are no loadouts, then there is some hope because he's been right about a lot of things. And he's saying this very confidently. It was a very confident tweet to make. So do you believe him, Tanner?
Yeah, I think at some point we would see loadouts. I don't know if it's going to be the same type of loadout we're thinking now. Like in this blog post when we get through it here, they talk a little bit about perks. So I have a feeling maybe these loadout crates he's referring to, maybe you don't get free ones anymore, maybe you have to purchase them. And instead of getting like perks too, all you get are like your 2 guns and then like your lethal or tactical or whatever else you pick. Something along those lines, or even just 1 gun maybe if there's no perks. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm not sure. But I believe something of that type will be coming, yeah. I don't
Okay.
think it's going to stay forever how it is right now. I don't know if it'll change on launch, if it'll change later into the game's life cycle, because don't forget, Caldera had a wonky loadout system for a couple months. They changed it a few times around, and they eventually just reverted it. But as I've said many times, and I'll continue to say, Infinity Ward doesn't care what anyone thinks. They don't make changes based on feedback ever. They are the worst dev studio at that by far. So if there's something you want and it's not in the beta, chances are you're not getting it because it's Infinity Ward and they just don't care.
I tend to agree with you. Yes. So we'll get more into loadouts and what we think later, but let's get through this blog post. So moving on here. The biggest COD map ever. Welcome to Al Mazrah. So we kind of talked about this. It's Al Mazrah. It's bigger than any other. It's bigger than Verdansk or Caldera. Probably not by too much. I don't know. Doesn't say. Or maybe it does, but...
No, it doesn't. So it's the biggest map.
A bunch of flavor text, whatever.
Here's a little image screenshot of it pulled up on the screen if you guys want to look. Some sort of... What is that, a giant telescope?
Oh, by the way, observatory is dome.
I was about to tell you
dome.
that too, yeah. I learned that a few hours after we recorded that episode on Thursday, Yep. I saw one better screenshot up. I'm like, oh, that's dome. Okay, now I get why people kept talking about observatory.
Yes. So there's swimming and aquatic combat. There's probably not much new information in this blog post, actually. Over a dozen unique vehicles. That's a lot, but cool. Let's see. The shop. Okay, so here I want to get into it a little bit. Initial intel, the shop. As well as a new and impressive array of ground loot and adjustments on how to access and store them, one of the biggest innovations is the expanding yet streamlining of your purchases within a match. This comes courtesy of the shop, aka buy stations. These enhanced buy stations serve locations to buy and upgrade, terrible sentence, to buy and upgrade equipment and weapons, including the custom weapons you created before dropping in. So you can create a custom gun, all your attachments you want, and then in-game you can go to a buy station and buy that gun. Not a loadout crate, at least not in the alpha. Here are some actions you can complete at the shop. So buy back a teammate. Buy gear. Just like the function of the original buy, you can purchase equipment such as gas masks, kill streaks, armor, and more. So I do have some screenshots. We're not going to pull them up here, but basically when you open a buy station, you get 3 different subcategories: buy gear, buy weapons, upgrade weapons. Upgrade weapons was locked. I don't know if it's because you have to do something to upgrade weapons. I don't know what upgrade weapons means. And maybe they locked it just because of the alpha. I don't know, but whatever. When you expand the buy gear menu, then you get into the sub menu. So here's what we have: self-res, plates, muni, armor box, frags, syringes, stims, decoy grenades, shock sticks, throwing knives, UAV, and mortar strike. So that's odd. First thing that really sticks out to me, there is no precision airstrike here. I'm pretty sure I saw precision airstrikes in the game. Maybe they're ground loot only.
So based on what we're seeing here, this is something I'm just now noticing for the first time. It says limited stock. So if you notice at the buy station, self-revive kit you can buy, and it shows 2, which means there's a total of 2 of them there. So if you're playing quads, there's not enough self-revive from that buy station for you and your squad to buy.
Oh,
armor plates, unlimited. Armor boxes, unlimited. Syringes, decoy grenades, shock equipment, throwing knives, UAVs, all of those other things have a limit to them at that particular buy station. So it's possible someone could buy everything and then you get to that buy station and everything's gone. So maybe when it's bought and it just disappears from the buy station, because yeah, there were precisions everywhere.
So someone bought a precision and now they're out of stock, so they don't show it.
Yeah. Something else that's interesting from this, by the way, one armor plate is $1,000. That says one armor plate. But, you know, that the prices sound weird right now, but we also don't know how the money's going to end up being. You could,
money's fake.
Typical money stat could be $12,000 for this map.
Exactly.
We don't know. We can't base it off the old one, but armor plates are individual from this screenshot. So yeah, I think it's just, sounds like you can buy shit out from a buy station and then it's just gone from that one. That'd be a great way to grief people.
It's also a good way to encourage people to move their characters. It kind of makes sense. True. In theory, I kind of like that. Now, before again, sorry, another detour before we move on. I'm also going to add this. A lot of this shit is going to look good or bad on paper, but then you play the game and it might be the other.
Yeah.
Especially when you are not changing things in a vacuum. So like if we have Caldera and Warzone 1 and how it plays right now, if you propose to me one change to Caldera, I can probably, with a pretty high degree of accuracy, tell you whether or not that's going to be good for the game, whether it's going to be good, bad, or neutral, because I know the entire ecosystem, and then I'm only looking at one change.
Damn, you a COD
but
dev
here,
ecosystem?
it's like, yeah, I know.
The ecosystem,
yeah.
Man.
But yeah, these goddamn people, they worm their way into my brain. But here, when we're looking at this, I've never played Warzone 2. I've seen a couple hours of the gameplay, and I don't know how the game plays at all. So a lot of this stuff is going to sound good on paper and it won't be, or it's going to sound bad on paper and it won't be, because there are so many new changes here and in a new environment that it's very hard to predict whether something is good or bad. So for example, you can only buy, if there's only 4 UAVs per buy station, and then once they're bought out, they're bought out. On paper, my first thought is that's pretty good, because then you can't just camp the last buy station in the circle and then win for free. But I don't know.
But the other team's not even going to know that the buy station has nothing until they go up to it. So you could still technically camp it. People will still go up to it. But I think
I just mean like if you... Yeah, but being on the buy station, the last buy station, will be less advantageous, even if the other team doesn't like it.
Oh, yeah, because it'll probably... Yeah, okay. Yeah, the thing when it comes to like less streaks, though, hopefully, that is promising. But from what we saw in the alpha gameplay, every person I ever watched had a streak on them every single time. So they're probably just everywhere in ground loot as of now. But yeah, that's definitely interesting with the limited stock thing.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So then go back out to the broad buy station menu. There was buy gear, which we just went over, and then there's also buy weapons. And when you press that button, it shows all your custom gun setups or whatever. And what's real weird about this is the prices of the guns are all very different. And I suspect that this is based on how many custom attachments your gun has on it.
I believe so. I think it's based off the gun and the attachments.
Category of gun itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a
example,
kitted pistol is going to be way less.
Yeah, right. So, for example, this is a screenshot from JGod's alpha gameplay. He can buy an M4 for $4,060. He can buy a Lockman submachine gun for $12,600. And then there are a bunch of other guns. No two have the same, a couple of them have the same price, but they're all like different prices for the most part. That's
And then there's another M4 that's $11,000. So that one obviously has attachments on it.
Correct.
And then the price probably even changed based on what type of attachments. Like, maybe a zoom scope or something is going to cost a lot more than like a standard red dot would. Even if you have 5 attachments on it, I feel like individual items may end up costing more. Which could actually honestly make sense and tie into the game if that's how something works in DMZ as well. If there's some sort of money system with attachments in DMZ, say like how Tarkov optics have different prices, that would kind of make sense and all tie into this together. Because it's obvious that DMZ and Warzone are going to be pretty damn similar. In a lot of regards.
And I think DMZ has informed a lot of the decisions, particularly UI decisions that have been made. But we'll get into those as we come to them. So that's that for the buy station. And then there's again a third subcategory called upgrade weapons. Don't know what it means. It was locked, so I don't know. But maybe the blog post will tell us more. So limited equipment. Back to the blog post. Some items are likely to be limited in number, and once purchased, they are gone from the shop.
There we go. Yeah.
So that explains the precisions. Buy weapon prior to a match. Your main prep is focused on creating a number of custom weapons for your next match in Al Mazrah.
Oops.
Jesus Christ, man.
Set my water bottle on the table and it fell into my trash can. Nice, man.
So, big point here. You purchase these custom weapons from the buy station. Note that this takes the place of a full loadout. In parentheses, your primary, secondary, tactical, and lethal, as well as perks. Okay. So,
am I the only one confused by that sentence?
let me read the next point. This will help a little bit. Custom weapons are constructed in the gunsmith, and then they're bought here. They take up your weapon slots. Okay. Tacticals and lethals are very common ground loot, and perks will not be available in Warzone 2 at launch. Okay. So this really now makes it sound like there won't be a loadout. And I don't know why Ralph's Valve tweeted that. Because they're explicitly stating in this blog post that there won't be a loadout, at least on launch. And then another interesting thing to say is perks will not be available at launch. That implies that perks will be available later.
Yeah.
So maybe Ralph's Valve is saying loadouts are coming to Warzone 2.0, but not until season 1 or season 2 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Or no, season 2 or season 3 or something. So a lot of questions now.
Yeah, this may literally be see how the community responds to it, see how bad the backlash is, because everyone's going to complain about something different right away. But once you play with it for a few weeks, people will settle down, stop complaining about things. There is a bunch of those on Cold Air. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are always things that people bitched about like crazy. And then a few days later, not a single person talked about it ever again. And then everyone just got used to it. So maybe they want to actually play it out for like a month or so, or like season 1, see how people like it, and then maybe add the loadouts from there. He's probably saying that because the loadout system is literally in the game and already designed. It's just they essentially have it turned off right now. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's something very similar to that.
Yes.
Yeah, because didn't even everything Tom had talked about too, didn't he say there were loadouts in the game and you got them from capturing strongholds? Something like that. So there's a lot of people, all the leakers like the entire time have been talking about loadouts and just different ways to get them. No one's ever said they weren't going to be in the game. So I feel like they're in there in some regard. Just this current iteration, we're not going to see it as of now.
I'm getting that impression as well. And that's what I would want also. So like the
I'm down
alpha
to test no loadouts.
Sure. The alpha version of Warzone 2 is like very much a more traditional take on a BR. It's like way closer to a BR than Warzone 1 literally ever was. Because we had loadouts on day 1 of Warzone 1. And this is something Tanner and I famously, for veterans of the program, backtracked on or changed our opinion on. When Warzone first came out, we're on record. We were like, the loadout thing is fucking dumb. It defeats the purpose of a BR, blah, blah, blah. And then we played a while, kind of like what Tanner's saying. You bitch about things and then you play with it and then you're like, wait, hold on. That's exactly what happened with us. And then we totally 180'd on this position to the position I still have to this day. Tanner does as well. I don't want another regular ass BR, and loadouts are the primary thing that make Warzone really unique, different, and fun. And if there are no loadouts, that would be fucking insane. And I might as well go play Apex or some other BR that has been doing more traditional BR things for far longer, with far more polish, with a ranked mode, etc. So I would really hate to see them take out loadouts. And I think it would be so dumb, in fact, that before this alpha gameplay happened, before COD Next, I was like, there's no chance there's not going to be loadouts. And I do kind of stand by that, honestly. I think they recognize that loadouts are what make Warzone so fun, because you get to use your own shit, you get to design your own shit, it gives you incentives to go level things, to unlock perks, to unlock attachments. It's really good for content creators as well. And that's really good for Activision, because when your content creators making a lot of money on your game by putting out loadout guides and what are the best perks to use, what are the best lethals, what are the best attachments, then they get all of their viewers to get really riled up about playing your game, and then they buy microtransactions. So it's in everyone's best interests to have loadouts in the game, and I think it would be a catastrophe if they never did come to Warzone 2, and soon. So I think they probably will, based on everything we know right now. Now, still, however, if they never did, at least you can buy your own loadout gun. So you could buy a custom gun. That's good, but they are very expensive. And we don't know how the economy works. Maybe 13K won't be the same as a Verdansk 13K. It's entirely possible. But I think... I don't know. Because the most important thing about a loadout is the custom gun, to be fair. I think the lethal and tactical and even the perks matter a lot less than the custom gun. That's mostly what makes the loadouts important, is being able to use your own gun setup with your own camo and your own fucking reticle and weapon charms and all that shit. So if it did stay at that, maybe I'd be okay with it. I don't know. I'm not really sure where I stand on this right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like, we use the term loadout. I'm good, I think, with no loadouts, as long as you can rather easily get your custom guns. That's what when I say loadouts, that's really what I care about. The perk shit, I honestly don't want, for the most part. The only issue without having perks then is there's no counters to certain things. You can't run battle hardened to counter stuns or flash if it's insanely overpowered. Which it seems like they are in currently. So things like that, it sucks that you can't balance them, but also you have way less cheese. People aren't running around ghosted. People aren't using Combat Scout and tracking you through walls. So I think overall, like, not having any perks would be really, really good for the game. But, you know, those will also probably come to it at some point anyways. But yeah, my biggest thing, I just want custom loadout guns. Because it's like every loadout, or every gun on the ground right now, has 0 attachments on it, pretty much. Like, actually, I don't think there were... They usually had, like, 0 or 1 attachment on it. They had, like, a laser or something. I never once saw anyone pick up a gun that was ground loot that was, like, a fully decked out one. So it's like, I don't want to play with that, of course. Those are fucking terrible. So that system doesn't make any sense, you know? In, like, PUBG, you find just guns by themselves, but then you find an 8-time scope next to it, a red dot next to it, a 4-time scope next to it, and you can put that on. So... there's no way you're going to have to pick up shitty ground loot 0 attachment guns and then go to a buy station and then pay to upgrade that weapon and put other It's just so janky and entirely unnecessary, and something Infinity Ward would do. Change something for no goddamn reason at all. Yeah. Like, we want something different, but don't take out perks, take out free loadout drops, whatever. Make me buy my loadout guns in some sort of crate at least. Just give me my loadout guns easily, because no one wants to play with fucking ground loot guns the entire game, ever. I promise you, no one wants to do that. So they need some sort of system like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope it'll come quickly where you can get loadout guns.
I agree. Yeah. So, moving on to the circle collapse thing. So one thing we had already talked about was that there's a big circle, there's gas around it, and the circle, they had said, can split into 3 separate circles. And we had a couple questions on that. Or we had one question on that, which has been answered. Does it happen every game? According to this blog post, no, it does not happen every game. So there will be games where the circle just keeps getting smaller and it's always one circle. And then there will be some games where it splits into 3, but it's not a guaranteed chance. It's a possibility. I don't know to what degree. I don't know how often it'll happen. I suspect it would split into 3 less than 50% of the time. But that was a question we had. There you go. It's not going to happen every game. Another interesting facet of this, by the way, is that, and this is a kind of a big detail that I don't think I've seen anyone talk about, but I was watching, as I said, I was watching gameplay of the alpha, and Cloaksy was in one of 3 circles, and they killed a team. And then he and all of his teammates got a message on their screen that said, quote, "You are the last squad alive in your circle." So that is interesting, because that's a lot of information you just got.
Yeah.
That is a fucking ton of information. And I'm like surprised no one's talking about this. But the implications of that are basically, I mean, that once it splits into 3, these are pretty small circles. So if you don't see that message, then you know there's at least one other team. And then if you do see the message, you can loot every single thing in your circle and with no regard for your own safety. Which, and I don't know how I feel about the message. I think it's probably fine. I'm just surprised that they added this feature into the game. What do you think?
So, not only that,
this?
it's on your UI the entire time. If the circle splits, if you notice the top right, the UI got insane. You know, like in Warzone now, it shows how many spectators you have, how many kills you have, how many players are left. There's a whole bottom row to that UI when it splits into circles, and it shows you how many people are left in your circle.
Oh.
Yes. That's constantly on the screen. There were numerous people that I was watching.
Oh.
The top right of their screen would literally have like 10 different numbers on it. It was outrageous, actually. It was a clusterfuck. I don't know what all the other ones. I don't know if it showed like how many kills you had in that specific circle, or like if it also told you how many like AI or something there was. I don't know. It was
there
weird.
There were a lot of icons. I remember that.
Frankly, I hate it. If it's going to split into circles, it should not tell you how many people are in there, I don't think. Again, on paper, how things play differently, I don't know. But on paper, this sounds like a really, really bad, unnecessary amount of information. I would rather know how many total people are on the map, which it also does tell you. I don't want any info about my circle. I think that kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. Like splitting is kind of like the unknown, as you don't know. Maybe your circle, maybe there's 60 players left. Maybe your circle has 50 people in it, and then the other ones have like 5 in each.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get that information that you know exactly how many players and teams are in your own circle. Doesn't make sense to me. The other thing that I wonder about that. So like, I'll pull it up on the screen here so you can see this image. On the left here, these zones are pretty large still when it splits, and there's not a huge gap to go between zone to zone. So if I'm in a helicopter, my squad have gas masks, can we cross circles easily? Or do you die if you leave the circle or something? Because then it's like, if I'm going to cross a circle, is that UI really going to update if a new team comes into the circle and then add players to it? You know, I just feel like it's going to be so messed up and not be accurate and just give me unnecessary information that teams shouldn't be told. So like, and then in the middle picture here, that'd be a lot harder. But there's no way on this left image here with these massive circles that are fairly close to each other, there's no way I can't fly a helicopter in between those and get into the next circle perfectly fine.
I agree.
So that's why I don't like the circle information. This doesn't make sense to me, I don't think.
Yeah, it's an awful lot of information that you don't have to do anything for. Again, like you said, like we've been saying, and we will continue to caveat, we have to play. We have to play a lot to like ultimately come to a conclusion on this, but it does seem like too much info on paper.
That's for the UI. I do think in general, I think the zone splitting is interesting, and I'm definitely excited to try that out. There's definitely going to be some pros and some cons. I think the biggest pro, which I guess Infinity Ward is kind of trying to reiterate during COD Next, is that this whole game, they keep talking about team-based, team this, team that. So I feel like the zone splitting is going to make people in a BR actually stick together and play together, which, again, on paper, that sounds amazing. You know, it's cool that these guys can go off in 1v4 teams in Warzone 1, but I think a BR, if you're playing quads, it should be about your team, honestly. No one cares that you're dropping 30 or 40 bombs. I don't give a shit. I think it's like, sure, you'll get less kills, but I feel like in a team-based battle royale, you should be forced to play as a team. There's like not other BRs where you can split and do shit like that. It's literally just Warzone. So I think that kind of comes into play, because if you guys are all split on different parts of the map, then it's like if the zone split into weird circles, you could have one guy in one circle, another two guys in another circle, and another one guy in one circle. And then that person is probably fighting a bunch of teams of 4 people constantly. And then, I don't know, it sounds bad. I'm not sure. That's why it just sounds so much more team-based, and it's going to make you play as a team, which overall I think is a good thing. So that's what I'm excited to see with the circles, how that goes. But I don't know. There could be a lot of negatives too. I think L pointed one out when we were doing the Thursday pod, and he's like, well, it could also get really boring. If your circle is dead quickly, then what are you going to do? Let's say you have 3 or 4 minutes till the circles like collapse and then come together. You're just jacking off for 3 or 4 minutes if your circle's cleared. And there's nothing you can do because you maybe can't leave that circle. You're just hanging out doing nothing, looting. That's boring. No one wants to play that either. So I don't know. It's gonna have to try it out. Not sure it's a good idea. Sounds okay on paper though. I'm definitely open to this change and testing it though.
Yeah. That is a concern. If you're like the last team alive in your circle, it gets boring. However, if the circles don't split every match, and then on the times they do split, you're not always going to be alone. I could get over that if that was the only negative. And it is different, and it sounds fun. So I'm open to trying the change for sure. I think that's like kind of fine. But yeah, we'll continue to say, we'll have to play and see. Next is the Gulag. We talked about this. It's 2v2. You get a random teammate. It's fucking retarded. And then we saw gameplay of it, and I don't have to tell you that we were correct. It's fucking retarded. And there are a couple other things. Let me just read this. This is a live fire training complex as well as a prison where foes need to be neutralized and sometimes partnered with. You're dropped into a multi-level arena with only your fists and a plan to loot, shoot, and win a decisive 2v2 battle before you're allowed back into the big map for a second chance at victory. So this is like that one gunfight mode in MW 2019. I think it was called Gunfight, some 3-letter acronym. And basically you spawn with nothing, but there's like ground loot everywhere in the Gulag. So you have to like run and pick up guns and shit, which is terrible, awful. And then optionally, your Gulag combat can include searching for an AI combatant known as the Jailer, killing him, picking up his key, and using his key to escape. Don't forget to loot as you go, because anything you come out of the Gulag with, like in Warzone 1, you will keep when you redeploy. Okay. This is all retarded and so unnecessary and dumb. Now, one pro of the Gulag is, at least based on the very limited screenshots and video I've seen of it, the map itself, the Gulag play space itself, is a good play space. It's not fucking... Caldera original terrible Gulag. Looks like a good like little map. But that's it. That's where it ends. That's where the pros end. Everything else about it's just fucking dumb. Now, I will also add, again, if the Gulag is total shit, I don't care that much. The Gulag is not an integral component of the Warzone experience, in my opinion. If you die and get sent to a shitty Gulag, hey, don't die next time. Welcome to BRs. So if it's all RNG, trash, dog shit, I'd prefer it wasn't. But if it is, then, it's kind of your fault. Don't die. So not the end of the world for me, but this is all bad except for the map itself. Yeah. That's kind of where I stand. I just don't care that much.
It's interesting too because in Warzone they'll do things like Iron Trials. They take the cheese out of the gulag and they like admit that it's like, oh, like a more skill-based gulag. And then for Warzone 2, we get a totally random teammate. Oh yeah, don't spawn me with my guns, but spawn them 5 feet in front of me, so I just have to run and pick them up anyways. Why? What's the point in that? If you're gonna spawn them randomly. I don't know. Yeah, when you start going down the side lanes, there's other loot there too. I saw like someone pick up like a Semtex over on the side lane. So it's like yeah,
like what if in front of me is like an M4 and then in front of the other guy is like a fucking double barrel?
I think it's
like
the
that
same
guy just
guns.
loses by default.
I think it's the same guns, but I think on your side, like you and your teammate, there's like 2 different guns maybe. I don't know. The whole gulag is by far the worst thing we saw from Warzone 2. Absolutely horrendous. There's not, like you said, the one good thing about it is that the map design of it looks okay. But I was watching, like, I think it was a Bobby Poff clip. Pretty sure they killed both of the other 2 guys, and then it starts a countdown, and then you have to run out of the gulag. It's like, why? Just unnecessary.
Oh, that's so
if
dumb.
I kill the people, just stop the game and get me out. Why do I then have to run out? It's just none of it makes sense. I don't want a random teammate. I don't want to not spawn with the guns. I don't want them to be on the ground a few feet in front of me just for me to run forward a few steps and pick up. I don't want AI to be in there, certainly. I don't want a jail key to be in. None of it makes sense. It is a terrible, terrible fucking idea, and I really don't think our opinions on this will change. It is a terrible idea. Definitely the worst part of Warzone 2 as of right now. Yeah. There was no reason for them to do this. Absolutely none. One of those things where they stretch something so far for no goddamn reason. Nothing.
They want it to be like a more realistic experience where it's like you have to like run out yourself, which is dumb. Because, by the way, they make you run out of the gulag, like literally move your character out of the fucking gulag. But then you just then all of a sudden you teleport to a plane to redeploy that way.
Yeah, you start falling out of the sky, yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, don't make me run out of the gulag then, implying this is for realism. Because then I run out of the gulag and then I get fucking beamed by a Martian to the air to redrop. That, like, if you're going to just teleport me into the midair anyway, then then just fucking end the game once the other team's dead, right? So yeah, it's just dumb. But again, whatever. Moving on here, their next section is on AI. They wrote a lot. I'm reading part of it. If you're concerned that AI combatants are going to get in the way between you and your W, then don't be. It's entirely your choice to engage the NPCs scattered across the map, or to not engage them. AI will not actively pursue you or your squad, and you can choose to never interact with them. Yeah, they keep misordering that. And you can choose never to interact with them. Learn how to write. It's multi-billion-dollar company. AI combatants have a variety of lethality levels and behaviors and are usually encountered in specific areas of the map. While they may defend their territory like a CDL pro, they won't, by the way. Don't write that. They will not seek out combat. Comma splice. Conversely, if you're ready to take on any combatant you see, there are locations, comma splice, with a concentration of enemies dotted around the map where you're guaranteed to have your combat metal tested. Known as strongholds, expect locked doors and a high density of AI combatants with a variety of innovative features to their responses depending on your tactics. Conquer a stronghold and expect impressive loot, including an item that allows you, comma splice, to purchase one of your customized gunsmith weapons at the shop for free. So that's kind of like it's kind of like when you do a supply run and you can buy like a free teammate or self-res. Kind of the same thing. You complete a stronghold and then you can buy one of your custom guns for free. So one thing on strongholds too is they're not in the game right away. They're like not active in the map right away. And at some point during the match, a pop-up comes up that says like strongholds are now active or
It was
whatever.
like a few minutes into the match. It seemed like 3 maybe.
Yeah. And then at that time, icons for strongholds will also appear on your map, but I'm pretty sure not before. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, to me, it seems like they're wrong, and the AI is definitely it seems like they could be anywhere. I actually saw people talking about that it's like the AI didn't make sense because like they weren't just in the strongholds. It's like they were scattered around the map randomly. And I don't know if they always show up like on your mini map or something, but there was even one of in J God's video, he was sitting there looting a chest. You could see off the corner to his screen, nothing was there. He's in this little shack. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you literally see the AI. He spawns in, or he walked around the corner of the little shack, but all of a sudden, he was there shooting at J-God. He was not in a stronghold. They were next to a stronghold that was locked. He had just gone up to the door, checked it, said, this stronghold is currently not active, it's locked. So he's outside it, looting chests, and randomly an AI comes up to him and starts shooting him. So I think they're also just entirely bugged. And I think if they are going to put AI on the map, it should only be actually like in the set strongholds or something, in the designated strongholds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like the idea of having AI at all, frankly. But if they're going to do it, the stronghold thing obviously makes the most sense, and they shouldn't leave that stronghold. Don't put them anywhere else on the map. They shouldn't step foot out of one of these stronghold areas, which should be definitely marked by like a wall or something around it, because it's like the strongholds, you think like it's going to be like a castle or some shit, but it's not. It's like, it's just like a set of buildings kind of. And I don't know if it designates it by them being like blocked off in some sort of way. Because it kind of just seemed like some of these strongholds they were going to, it's just like an open area that had a bunch of buildings, but it was considered a stronghold. So then you don't know like exactly where the AI ends. I'm not sure. It all just seems weird. Again, seems like something that was built for DMZ, and then they just like, oh, let's put this in Warzone. I don't know. I don't really understand it. But if they're gonna do it, have them only be in the strongholds.
I agree. AI anywhere but the strongholds is a clear, distinct, and obvious no. And the fact that they aren't only in the strongholds, with how many people play this game, I can guarantee you within 1 hour of launch, a team that would have won a match of Warzone will instead lose because they die to AI. That'll happen in an hour of launch. Someone's going to lose their game to fucking AI. And then you imagine the custom tournaments and shit, where it's like you just get unlucky and like there's fucking AI everywhere. They're terrible. But like, what if you're low on ammo? I have to waste my fucking ammo on some bot when I'm like getting my ass fucked by Breadman. Like, this is absurd. It's absurd. So they should only be in strongholds, if at all. The whole thing of the strongholds themselves, I just think it's dumb. I don't think it adds anything. I think it's stupid. Like, it's not fun. It's not interesting. And it's a really boring way to like do. It's just shitty content. It's just boring content. Like, I'm gonna do them because you get a free loadout gun. But if they wanted to provide an avenue for you to do something to get a free loadout gun, they could have done something else. And I think it could have involved not having AI on the map. And I just don't think having strongholds adds anything to the game for a battle royale.
It just adds boring gunfights, like you said.
It's boring as fuck.
Hey, exactly. Look at even on Fortune's Keep. The only person ever killing the AI to get the free money is me.
Our bots.
No one else does it. No one touches them. So I end up killing all of the bots and get the $20,000 they drop because no one cares and no one wants to fight AI. If you want to fight bots, VPN, and you get real life bots, not actual AI bots. It's really that simple. Like you said, uninteresting, boring, stupid fights. In the video of J-God getting shot by him, I'm not kidding. The AI hit him like 3 or 4 times and J-God took like 5 damage. It was like, why even add them in then?
Yeah.
I would almost rather them be difficult and have the chance to kill me, honestly, than just be dog shit and a waste of my ammo. I don't know. But whatever. Leave them in strongholds if you're going to put them in there.
I agree, yeah. I just, yeah. Definitely don't have them outside of strongholds. I don't know to what degree they exist outside of strongholds in Warzone. That's something I will add. It doesn't seem like they're fucking everywhere or anything. But the fact that they even exist at all outside of strongholds, super fucking dumb. That's really bad. But the fact of strongholds themselves, even, again, it just doesn't it doesn't add anything to the game. I don't know. It just seems like, yeah, it seems out of place. So, next is DMZ, initial intel DMZ. I'm going to read this whole paragraph because it's not much. The most closely guarded leak-proof secret, yeah, good job, in Call of Duty history can finally be revealed. There is a special extraction mode coming to Warzone 2.
Wow, that was leak-proof. Fuck you.
By the way, we talked about this a month and a half ago at patreon.com/thedropshot. We went through a considerable amount of information on DMZ.
That was leaked in the files.
All of which was correct based on what we know now, but plus more. So there's even more DMZ info at patreon.com/thedropshot. You can go look through the recent bonus episodes. It's one of them. Known as DMZ, this is a passion project for the teams at iDub and across contributing studios. And the main premise is about choosing your own experience within the Warzone, working socially if you wish, and collecting gear to keep in your Warzone 2 inventory and utilize from match to match. We'll have much more to share about the host of new challenges, bounties, gameplay features, and more when DMZ drops alongside Warzone 2. Okay. That's the biggest, for me. Let me read this clause again. Collecting gear to keep in your Warzone 2 inventory and utilize from match to match. Okay, again, that sounds like Tarkov, but I don't know. I don't know what Warzone 2 inventory means. Sounds like a stash. And utilize from match to match implies you loot gear and then you can bring it into the next DMZ match. But yeah, like TJ is saying in chat, change it. This could be just like fucking you loot a blueprint or a skin or a weapon charm. It's not like an actual thing. It's more like you loot an item, but it's actually just looting an unlock. In the same way that you could loot the MP7 blueprint and you would unlock Mud Dropper and then you could use it forever. It's not like you literally pick up that gun and then if you survive, you have that exact gun and then you take it into the next match and die and now you've lost that gun. That would be Tarkov style. That could be what they mean, but I would be more surprised. And I think it's more like when you loot Mud Dropper, you simply unlock that blueprint and camo. And then if you die or not, you always have it. But maybe that's not what they mean. I don't know. It's very unclear right now, but that's all they've said on DMZ. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I have no idea. Again, more words that don't tell us anything. I'd almost rather them just not say anything. Yeah, collecting gear to keep in your Warzone 2 inventory. Yeah, the fact that it says utilize from match to match does sound like cosmetic type shit. So maybe this whole time when everyone's been talking about like extract with your loot, it's literally like you're extracting with items like a weapon charm that you got for completing some sort of mission inside of DMZ.
And then you can just always use that weapon charm, yeah.
Which sounds
more like COD.
Terrible, but I've kind of realized, I think for a little while now, that I think DMZ is going to be a massive letdown from what I was thinking and hoping it would be. So
yeah, what else have we heard about DMZ? Because you have more information on it.
Well, we heard it's 100 players, supposedly.
100 real players.
100 real players are what they're saying. That's what the leaks are now saying. So sounds too similar to Warzone, but now we know this is more built into Warzone than it is built in Modern Warfare multiplayer. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be a massive change between DMZ and Warzone, which I don't like at all. I thought the point of DMZ was supposed to be like a different, like slower pace extraction type shooter with obviously way less players on it. If there's 100 players and then Warzone has between 100 and 150, 100 I don't remember. Okay. It was somewhere on Twitter.
It was like a leak though.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like they're gonna mesh too much. We should have had multiplayer that feels like Sixes or Ground War multiplayer. Warzone that feels like a new version of Warzone, and then DMZ, which is something in between those. Slower paced Warzone played on a massive scale, matches that last longer, risk reward type of thing. But it's, I mean, if there's AI and everything and DMZ too, it's like, sounds like it's going to be too similar to Warzone instead of its own game mode, and then it's just going to get kind of washed out. I don't know.
I completely agree. This was something I speculated on the more we were hearing about DMZ, is that the closest analog to DMZ, and if there are 100 players, then I can guarantee this. The closest analog to DMZ is going to be Plunder. Plunder is a different game mode than Warzone, than like BR, but it's basically the same shit. And it's a game mode no one plays. And if DMZ has 100 real players in it, then that will be true. DMZ is just going to be, it's going to be as dissimilar to Warzone as Plunder is to Warzone, which is to say not that dissimilar at all. And if there are 100 players, that is 100% absolutely the case. And everyone who expects DMZ to be like Tarkov or to be fun or different needs to give up hope. If there are 100 players. Because 100 players in a Tarkov-like mode is not possible. And if there are 100 real players per DMZ match, that completely precludes the possibility that it is anything like Escape from Tarkov.
Or slow
it will not be. It will not be full loot. AI will not be dangerous. You will not lose gear. None of that is possibly true if there are fucking 100 players per match. So, for context, in Escape from Tarkov, you play, admittedly, on a smaller map than Al Mazrah per raid. However, there are a bunch of AI, but the number of real players in an Escape from Tarkov raid on, what's the biggest map? Woods? Let's just go with Woods. The number of real players that spawn in on Woods is like 16, if
12.
that. 12. Okay. So, and that's very dangerous, by the way. You die on Woods. The people die. There is plenty of PvP a lot of times. So, again, Woods is smaller than Al Mazrah, but if we scaled the size of Woods up to Al Mazrah in Escape from Tarkov, then the number of PMCs, the number of real players, would probably be 25, maybe 30. But it certainly would not be fucking 100.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a number of players similar to Tarkov on a map as big as Al Mazrah, it would be probably like 30 players, 30 real players. Then it would have the same real person per square foot as like a Tarkov raid. And that would still be very dangerous. And you would still see plenty of PvP. The fact that if there are going to be 100 players, again, that totally precludes DMZ from being remotely similar in hardcoreness or even mechanically in most ways to Escape from Tarkov, and give up hope if there are 100 players. I would be amazed if the game was full loot with 100 players. That would be insane.
Yeah, no way.
Maybe they want to do that, but fuck me, dude. Like, everyone's always going to be losing all their gear, and no one's going to fucking play it. Probably. But I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I just don't fucking see it. And I don't think it would be a good idea. I don't think it would play well. Would you want to play on Woods if there were... How many PMCs would be on Woods if there would be 100 PMCs on Al Mazrah? Again, like 30, right?
Well, it's more just because the mobility in COD is so easy. So it's like there's that many players and there's helicopters and shit too. That's
True.
like you're
Also
constantly
good point.
running into people. It's not like you're just running around on
a
foot.
great
That's the
point.
biggest thing is the vehicle mobility around the map. So yeah, I don't know. DMZ is sounding worse and worse, unfortunately. It sounded excellent when we first started hearing leaks. Slowly, I started thinking, you know what, this is going to be a letdown. I'm going to expect something more like Tarkov, and it's not going to be like that. I knew it wasn't going to be like that's similar to Tarkov, but I thought it was going to be COD's version of a slower paced extraction shooter, and it does not sound like that whatsoever now. Literally just because of the player count. Yeah. I think that needs to be like 40 or lower. So who knows? That leak could be entirely wrong. I don't even remember where I saw it. I don't remember who said it. They could be way off. Who knows?
Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, on the topic of DMZ, I do still hold out hope. I am still extremely interested in learning all about it, and we will, of course, keep you guys apprised on this. But keep your expectations in check if you expect this to be like Tarkov.
Or maybe DMZ will end up being better than Warzone, and then it'll be more popular. Who knows?
It's actually possible.
Because it may play so similar to Warzone, and people end up liking it better for some reason. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns with DMZ. So, and then that's pretty much it for the blog post. They talk about Ricochet. It's going to be in on day one. They talk about the COD shop. It's like a 20% off sale or whatever, and that's kind of it. So yeah, there's the blog post. By going through this, we went through some of our notes, but we still have plenty of other things to add as well. But that did answer a couple of our questions.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably enjoy Warzone, and many of you are into fantasy sports. Now, you can combine these two courtesy of our friends at Kolosseum. Kolosseum is a Warzone fantasy league that takes popular Warzone streamers and lets you form a team every week of up to 6 different streamers, while having to remain under a set salary cap. The prices of the streamers change weekly, so it's up to you to decide how to build your best possible team for that weekend. You can all enter the Friday Freebie contest every week for free. Yes, free. Win $150 weekly just by making an account and picking your ultimate Warzone team. It's really that easy. The price pool starts at $75, increases by $5 up to a max of $150 every single week. You earn fantasy points based on your team's kills and wins. The stats of all streamers are updated automatically during the Friday Freebie, which runs from Friday to Sunday. Wins and kills during that time span will grant you points as you face off against others in the fantasy league. You can track it all live in your Kolosseum account. Here's how to play. You're going to go to Kolosseum, that's KOLOSSEUM.co, use code DROPSHOT during signup and start winning cash in their Friday Freebie League. Signups close at 7 p.m. Pacific. I just set my team for this weekend. Why don't you sign up? Let's see how we stack up. I'm better than you, so I'm going to beat you. You having trouble picking your squad? Don't worry. Each player's total wins, top 5 finishes, score per minute, and more are listed on the Kolosseum website during team selection. It's time to get more from Warzone streaming. Enter Kolosseum's free fantasy Warzone contest and win when your favorite streamers win. Build your dream squad now at Kolosseum.co.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some other thoughts we had. We went over, as I said, a lot of them already. Via the blog post, but there are a couple of other things. First of all, slide canceling. So we talked about on Thursday, like slide canceling's gone or whatever. And there have been some people whiling on the TL about how slide canceling's not gone. You just have to press a Grand Theft Auto 5 cheat code to be able to do it. And this is all cope. So can you slide cancel now? Looks like you can.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And based on everything we know about sliding and the limitations with sliding, why the fuck would you want to be slide canceling around like you did in Warzone 1 in a game where, number one, as far as we know, it no longer resets tac sprint. Number two, you have to press 8 buttons and it's fucking annoying. And number 3, you can't even hip fire your gun while you're sliding. Even if you can cancel it, that's still a fairly large limitation Warzone 1 didn't have. So all these people putting out fucking guides on how to slide cancel and learning how to slide cancel are simply coping, and they want the game so bad to feel exactly like Warzone 1.
Yep.
That they are trying to replicate slide canceling, even though there is no longer any reason to. And in fact, it is actually probably worse to be slide canceling than to just be running around. The reason everyone slide cancels in Warzone 1 is because you're not fucked when you're sliding, first of all. You can still shoot your gun. But also, and you can stim. I don't even know if you can use equipment. I don't know if you can like stim, for example, while sliding in MW2. I haven't played yet. I don't know. But I would imagine you can't. So that's a big deal. And then also, if it doesn't reset your tack sprint, plus those other limitations, why the fuck are you doing it? So yeah, hey, maybe you can slide cancel, but there's no longer literally any reason to. The only advantage you get are, in fact, not advantages, they're penalties. So don't do it. Now, it is possible I am wrong on this, and there will be some reason to slide cancel. I haven't played yet. No one's, to my knowledge, has tested if it does reset tack sprint. If it is, in fact, faster to move around the map this way than not. If you do move faster by slide canceling in MW2 over a mile, then maybe it'll be worth the new drawbacks where you can't stim or shoot your gun so that you can move faster. I get the sense that that is not the case. I get the sense you don't move faster by slide canceling around and that it will not be relevant, and that if you're trying to learn how to slide cancel, probably a waste of your time because it's probably not worth doing. And I think all of this is just cope. We don't have all the details yet. So.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I keep seeing with the slide canceling is like in order to come out of it, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I don't know how all of them are, but a bunch of different people I've seen ways to do it. But it seems like for one of them I saw, in order to come out of it, you then have to ADS. So like you slide and then ADS and that takes you out. So it's like, okay. So then you're just like not even moving at the end of it. It's literally like you're saying, kids coping so hard. It's the Rebirth mains coping so hard that they can't slide all around shooting 2 bullets, slide the other direction, shoot another 2 bullets just to get a TikTok clip. That's the people that are complaining about this. And then they're all saying that people that don't want it can't slide cancel. It's not hard to slide cancel. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah, it's so easy. Yeah.
Now, there are people that get better at it, but there's also people who just have better movement. Like, we were watching Jowo day 1 of the beta, and this guy was bunny hopping all around in same movement because he knows what to do. He has good movement. That's the skill gap. He doesn't need to have these cheesy slide canceling mechanics to get around the map like that. He has good bunny hops. He knows which direction to move. He's just a really good player. You're not. You just know how to slide cancel from the YouTube videos you watch
and then
of
you think
the
you're
TikTok
Jowo
kid.
because you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Yeah.
You're not good like him. So
exactly.
That's the biggest thing. Movement definitely is a skill gap, but the way it's always been necessarily hasn't been a skill gap. There will be some other way that someone figures out how to move around the quickest that will replace slide canceling probably, or like the sliding that we're currently seeing in the beta. It'll be, you know, maybe it's something like a double bunny hop into then a slide, and that slides you really far. Someone will figure out some way how to do this. Again, look back at day 1 of MW 2019, look back at day 1 of Warzone. People were just jogging around the map. It takes time to learn the new movement and mechanics and how all of that works. So don't worry if you're pissing and shitting your little tiny, size 26 jeans that you can't slide around anymore. You will be able to. There will be some movement mechanic, not necessarily sliding though. Someone will figure it out eventually, and there will be a good movement mechanic. The game has a really good base movement speed anyways, from what it seems, so you don't need to be doing something like this. You're just coping so hard. That's literally what it comes down to. You don't need it.
Yes, exactly. So keep your eyes on Exclusive Ace's YouTube. When MW2 comes out, he will test all the ways you can move a character from A to B, and then he will time them to the fucking 1/60th of a second. Or 1/120th of a second, actually, with these new consoles he probably has. So don't worry about it. Someone will learn and then do that. It's probably not going to be slide canceling, though. I would not worry about learning how to slide cancel in this game. I don't think it's going to matter. Well, let me say this. You will need to know how to slide cancel, because you might slide thinking that's the best thing to do and then get surprised. You need to know how to cancel out of that. So you will have to learn how to slide cancel, actually. It's just that's not going to be the way you're moving constantly 100% of the time like it was in MW19. I can almost guarantee that, but I can't 100% guarantee it. Maybe it is. There's a lot of unknowns still, but I think this is largely a cope, yeah. So that's kind of related to MW2 and Warzone 2 by extension. So to get back on track here. No contracts in Warzone 2. This is something I am not seeing many people talk about.
Wait, what? There were
Oh
contracts.
wait, no, there are.
Yeah.
There are contracts. What am I saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we had talked about that. There were contracts everywhere. That was one of the first thing we noticed. I was
Why
like,
did I write that down?
I don't know. I thought you were going somewhere else with it. I was gonna ask you why that was on there, but yeah, there. At one point, I swear there was like 50 bounties on the map. There were a ton of contracts. I don't know what type of contracts there were. The only one I really noticed was bounty, and that's what I saw people picking up. There may have been a scav icon as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, contracts are still there. We don't know how they work. We don't know if they stack money like they have in the past, but contracts are in the game.
Yes. I don't know why I wrote that down. I have no idea. But one thing I will say on the topic of contracts, there seem to be less variety than Warzone 1, which is fine. I'm very glad there are not armored berthas anymore. But also, I did not see anyone do one. Or I think I maybe did, and I just don't remember. But like, people weren't doing them in the alpha. That was weird. I don't know. I don't know why people weren't doing them.
Yeah, I think people are kind of just, I don't know. I don't think the first thing I would do either in a brand new game is like pick up a contract. I feel like you kind of just want to loot around, explore the map, get into a gunfight. But yeah, I saw people doing bounties a few times. It looked kind of the same on the UI or on the map. You know, the bounty icon would update wherever they moved every so often. Yeah. Okay. Again, we didn't see anything else.
Yeah. So we'll have more details on specific contract types. If there are like bonuses, like when you do 2 contracts, you get 120% of the money, whatever. We'll have more details on that. But I just don't think it's that big of a deal right now. Okay, next is the backpack system. This is kind of a big deal. So you have a backpack, an inventory, okay? And here is how it works, at least in the alpha. You have a dedicated slot for a gun. You have another dedicated slot for a gun. Then you have a dedicated slot for a lethal and tactical. And then it looks like you have a dedicated slot for plates and a field upgrade. On top of that, you have 6 undedicated slots where, as far as I can tell, you can put anything. So, for example, if you want to carry 6 stacks of AR ammo, you can do that. If you want to carry 6 stacks of lethals, you can do that. So you can have a prox mine in your lethal slot, and then another stack of prox mines in your backpack, and then another stack of prox mines in your backpack, and then a stack of claymores in your backpack, etc. You can have cash in these slots. You can have kill streaks in these slots. So in theory, you could be carrying 6 precision airstrikes at the same time in your backpack, with these 6 miscellaneous slots. Now, someone in chat, Zpib, is saying that's badass. Okay, here's the problem with that. There are potentially a lot of problems. Again, don't let people carry 6 fucking precision airstrikes, duh. But that might not be that big of an issue. They might be fairly rare, whatever. The biggest problem I notice about this, and we're unclear if you can put weapons in the backpack slots. You have 2 guaranteed weapon slots. You might be able to put 6 weapons in your backpack as well. I don't know how that works. We were trying to find answers, we couldn't. That would be interesting though, especially when you're sniping. That would make sniping a lot more fucking viable, because then you could just have a sniper in your backpack, or you could have an AR in your backpack for when the circle gets small enough to where you don't want to be sniping anymore. That would actually be really cool. I would like that. But I don't know if you can put weapons in the backpack. The biggest problem here is what's missing from this equation. Dedicated ammunition slots. So in Warzone 1, every single thing you can pick up has a dedicated spot in your inventory. The downside of that is you can't carry 6 precision airstrikes. You want to call that a downside. You can only carry 1 kill streak at a time and 1 field upgrade at a time instead of 7. The upside of that, however, is that you don't have to worry about what type of ammo you want. So early game, you find a stack of submachine gun ammo. Okay. Do I want to dedicate one of my 6 backpack slots to this stack of SMG ammo? Or do I plan on using a sniper AR this game So I should forego this ammo and instead reserve that for a stack of sniper ammo or AR ammo, etc., or shotgun ammo. I can easily envision a scenario where I pick up, a bunch of AR and SMG ammo, because that's what I plan on doing, and then only finding like a couple shotguns. But even though I found a bunch of shotgun ammo up until this point, I didn't want to occupy my backpack with a stack of fucking shotgun shells because I didn't plan on using one. And since there's no dedicated slot, now I just got my ass fucked. Really, really quite cringe. So on the upside, you could have more reserve AR ammo than you can in Warzone 1. If you fill up your backpack with AR ammo. Downside is no dedicated slots. I don't like it. And this is a lot more time you're going to have to spend managing your inventory and managing your backpack, which is, again, in the top 3 favorite things about Warzone was how simplified and easy the inventory system was, where I never had to spend time thinking, man, do I need another stack of AR or not? Or going through and fucking like dropping this. Oh, are you carrying any SMG ammo? Like a fucking asshole. Super giga cringe. I don't like that there's not dedicated slots for ammo. I, in fact, hate it. There are potentially some upsides again, but what you could do is have dedicated ammo slots and then also allow people to have even more ammo on top of that in the backpack. I think that's the best solution here, because then you get all the pros of the 6 floating backpack slots and none of the cons, as far as I can tell. But as it stands, that does not seem to be the case, and I hate it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just... the whole thing's weird. I think the biggest thing, like you're saying, is it's a waste of time. It's a waste of inventory management, time that we don't want to spend. That's the one thing you notice watching gameplay from the alpha, is people sitting in their inventory trying to figure out what to drop, what to take. Obviously, they had never played the game before, or most of them hadn't played the game before. So that stuff's going to take longer. You'll get quicker the more you play the game. But it's like so much time they're just sitting there staring at the inventory, thinking if they should drop something, if they should take something. One good thing maybe is less people like using broken snipers or something, though. If you only have a certain amount of slots, maybe people aren't going to like use a bunch of sniper ammo if they know they need to have like AR and SMG ammo. And then of course money is one of the stacks as well. So basically you have 5 stacks because money is taking up one of them.
Yeah, you're going to have, of course, yeah, true.
And then ammo types, you're going to need at least
dedicated slot.
Yeah. And then ammo is also going to take up at least another 2 slots. So you basically have like 3 open slots. I think one of the biggest things of all is we have things like snapshots in the game. So you're telling me I can carry like 8 snapshot grenades on me? 8 stun grenades, something like that? That sounds
14,
absurd.
Theoretically, yeah. People with a riot shield carrying 14 stuns, I unironically see, I can see the TikToks now.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't seem good. It's just... Again, a change to make a change for no reason. And then I think, were there different sizes of backpacks? Because there was something on the ground that was like some sort of container that you could pick up. So I don't know if that was to grab more plates, which is also a thing now, in order to equip more plates, or if it was for the backpack system. I'm not sure. But I think from what I saw most of the time, it was a max of 6. So maybe you start out with even less. It's like 4 slots, and you have to find a bigger backpack.
Yeah, that's possible.
So we're not sure the specifics, but on paper, I don't like this idea at all. I think there's going to be too many cheese things that can come out of it. Like late game, yeah, you could buy a bunch of streaks, and then your whole team could be holding like 6 total streaks or something, 7 streaks. That's not a fun late game ending. It just doesn't make any sense. And it seems like it's going backwards from what they're trying to do. It seems like they want like a team-based shooting battle royale, and then if you give people those possibilities, someone will take advantage of that and cheese it in every possible way, and there will be plenty of people doing that. So the system just seems bad to me, and yeah, more than anything is it's a waste of time managing inventory. We want to shoot people. I don't want to spend my time doing shit like that. That's the reason people don't play PUBG, because you have to spend time doing dumb shit like that and managing your inventory till the very last second of the game. That's not fun to do. No one wants to do it. That should not be in the game. So yeah,
Yep.
ammo should have this whole backpack system. When we first heard this leaked, I was like, "There's no way they're doing this. They can't be that stupid, right?" So, maybe it's something we'll get used to quickly. Maybe the UI will get better in the way that it works. But as of now, I really, really don't like this part at all.
And another thing, like Tanner brought up, is that he doesn't like the idea of people carrying a bunch of precision airstrikes. Okay. And like people are going to cheese that to win, whatever. Like I always tell everyone listening, okay, you might be like, oh, well, not that many people are going to do that. It depends on if it's the best way to win the game. And if the best way to win a match of Warzone is to have in quads is to have each of you carrying 3 precision airstrikes for a total of 12, which is entirely feasible, by the way. That still leaves you a slot for cash, ammo, second ammo type, and then you have 3 free slots for whatever you want. So 4 people could easily be carrying 3 precisions and not really be lacking anything they need. And if that is the best way to win a game of Warzone, which it seems incredibly likely that it would be, then guess what every single good player is going to do? Exactly that. Good players, the reason they're good, there's a lot of reasons they're good. One of the big ones is they exploit every possible thing that you could actually do that would give them an advantage, and they do it. So if the best way to win the game is to have your team carrying 12 precision airstrikes, every single endgame will be comprised of 4 good players carrying 12 precision airstrikes.
Yep.
Does that sound fun to any of you? Because it doesn't sound fun to me. And again, if you're sitting here coping like, oh, not that many people are going to play cheesy and do that, you are categorically wrong. Good players who want to win are going to do whatever thing gives them the highest chance of success and winning. And if it's that, which it seems very likely that it would be, because having 12 precisions sounds really strong, then every single endgame is going to be a team with 12 precisions winning the game, because that's the best way to win. People are always going to do the thing that makes it that gives them the best chance at winning.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you can carry 12 precisions, I mean, theoretically, you could carry, 6 times 4? 24 precisions.
Yeah.
If that's possible and that's the best way to win, you'll see it every game. Because the team that's alive in the end game of the game is the best team, usually. And they're going to fuck your ass with 24 precisions.
Yeah.
Not fun. Doesn't sound fun. Now, again, as we've been saying, this is the problem I see on paper. Maybe precisions are super rare and you can only buy 1 at each buy station and this won't be a problem. That's possible. Maybe they're very rare ground loot or not ground loot at all. And then the number of precisions in total is relegated to the number of buy stations in total are on the map. And then this won't be a problem. Maybe. But there are also mortar strikes. So I could have 1 precision and 1 mortar strike per teammate. That's still 8 streaks. Still really good. So, I mean, and UAVs, by the way, there's no ghost anymore. So if I can be carrying 24 UAVs, that's going to help me a lot too in an end game.
Yeah, I would imagine that would help.
Especially when there's literally no way you can avoid it. So, yeah, these are the problems I'm seeing on paper. Again, there are a lot of unknown variables. We don't know how it's actually going to play. Maybe these worries are totally unfounded, but it's something to keep in mind, and that's what I'm worried about with this. On top of the fucking labor of having to do inventory management, which is one of the top 3 best things about Warzone as a BR with respect to other BRs, is I don't have to waste any fucking time doing inventory management and thinking about what type of ammo I want. I just run over it and I have it, and then I'm chilling. That's gone now. So that's fucking annoying too.
It just
But these
slows
are
it down a
my
lot.
2 big issues with this, and I don't like it.
The other thing is, we're not 100% sure this is how this works. We're basing it off of J-God's video where he said
I'm 98%.
you should be able to put anything in the backpack. I don't know if J-God ever tried to buy 6 precisions and put those in his backpack. I really doubt anyone tried to do that. I saw
he
with
said with lethals,
but maybe there's a cap to kill streaks. Maybe you can only carry 1 or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But then again, if that's the way it is, why are you forced to put it in a
Why have a
backpack and have a
backpack?
backpack system? So none of it makes sense. It sounds like this game may have some serious balance issues on launch if they go forward with this. Because, yeah, the sweats will figure this out. They'll figure something out, whether it's carrying a bunch of frag grenades, a bunch of snapshots, a bunch of streaks. They'll figure it out within the first week of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And then all the good players late game will be doing that same strat.
Now, last thing I want to say on this topic, as a very big silver lining, which I believe. If you can actually buy 24 precisions, and that's the best way to win the game, they will change it quickly. So it's not going to be the end of the world. They're going to, if something that fucking dumb and cheesy is the best way to win the game on launch, they'll do something quickly to fix it. Because they're not going to let their game just get ruined by precision airstrikes on week 1. They won't do it. So the silver lining is all these worries, if they are that egregious, they'll get changed. My big worry is that it's not that egregious, but it's still really bad. Like the number of self-reses in Warzone 1 right now. Really bad issue, but not so bad that Ted Timmy Timmons takes notice of it. That's my worry. It's like that. It's if it reaches that middle ground where every team has 7 or 8 precisions at the end game. And then it's like, this is obviously cheesy and unfun, but it's not so ridiculous that every single person on Twitter complains about it, forcing Activision to change something. That's my big worry. Yeah. But I don't think it's a realistic concern that every game is going to end with 24 precision airstrikes. Because if it was, they would change it quickly. So there's some silver lining. But
yep.
Next is the armor satchel, armor vest system. So this is really dumb and I hate it. When the game starts, you have a grand total of 2 plate slots. So you drop out of the plane, you have no plates on your character, I don't think. And then you can carry a bunch of plates, however many you can fit in your backpack. But the number of plates you can have equipped is capped at 2. So in Warzone, this has never been Warzone 1, this has never been a thing. You've always had 3 slots. Or 2 with tempered, but it was the same number of damage mitigation. But in this game, you start with 2. And then you can loot an item called a satchel, I think, which allows you to equip up to 3 armor plates. Can you hear me, Tanner?
Yeah.
Okay. Your stream froze. I'm worried about my internet. Maybe it's you, though. Hold on. Chat, do you see us? Yeah, we're good. Okay, sorry. It was just me.
Okay.
My internet or something.
Cool.
So the way this works now is like, yeah, you can equip 2 plates, but then you can find an item that allows you to equip 3 plates, which means if you find that item, you have more health than someone else who didn't find that item. Now, from the buy station screenshot I had, you couldn't buy whatever this item is. I'm going to call it a vest. You couldn't buy this vest at the buy station. Maybe it's sold out, or maybe you just can't buy them at buys. In either case, this is dumb. And I hate it. And this is wildly RNG. If I find a vest and you don't, I have more health than you. I mean, it's annoying enough to find a worse gun than some other guy and then losing because your gun is just worse. It's going to be quite another thing to die to someone who just found a vest and you didn't. So they literally have more health than you. I hate this system. And further, and most importantly, what does the existence of these vests add to the game other than RNG? Nothing. So why add it? I don't understand why it's in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like early game in Warzone now, it's RNG based on how many plates you find. But usually you can find plates. Everyone comes in with the same amount of plates, obviously. Usually people find plates right away, though. But the fact that I could be end game and maybe have never found one of these armor, these plate satchels, whatever we want to call them. So I'm end game, have all my loadout guns, everything that I want, but I only have 2 plates max and you have 3 plates max. That's not a good experience. That makes it entirely too RNG. Doesn't add anything positive to the game at all. Only something neutral or negative. Again, no reason to have something like that. And I hope that's something that'll get changed because there's no reason to do that whatsoever. Not at all.
I agree. You need to just spawn everyone with the 3 plate capacity and leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's crazy that this is a thing they added. It's just typical, the most typical example of Activision doing Activision things, adding shit to the game that doesn't actually help the gameplay experience in any way.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of the armor vest? The only possible purpose I can think of is this gives players an incentive to traverse the map and loot. It's the only possible reason you would add an armor vest, to incentivize people looting. But there are already so many incentives to loot that the armor vest on top of it is completely superfluous. And it's, just more RNG dog shit. I don't understand why it's in the game, and I hate it so goddamn much. And I'm really surprised not more people are bitching about this on the TL. I'm actually
I
shocked.
noticed that literally right away. As soon as we started watching Warzone gameplay, I was like, okay, he only has 2 plates max. And then I noticed Huskers or someone I was watching picked up the item or his teammate got it, and then I saw they could have 3 plates max. And that was the first thing. I'm like, why? So unnecessary and just dumb. Just a dumb change to change something. I've been saying the whole time, I want change in Warzone. Things like that are not changes that impact the game enough to warrant a change being made. It just makes it more RNG. So it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, the caveat that we've been saying today does not apply here. I don't need to play the game to tell you this is bad and dumb. I need no experience with the game to tell you categorically this is a bad change.
Yeah.
This is so obviously bad on paper that no amount of playing Warzone 2 is going to change my mind on this topic. There's no way, because logically you can't. There's no possibility that this could actually be a good thing after all. No such universe exists. So this is just unequivocally bad. No amount of gameplay is going to change anyone's mind that this is bad. It's just RNG and bad. This is not like the circle splitting into 3 where it's like, oh, maybe it's good or bad. We don't know yet. We have to play. Not the armor vests. No, armor vests are just retarded. It's just dumb and bad. And I guarantee it. And more people will be complaining about it on launch. 1,000%. So cool. Thanks, Activision. I really want to know why they did it. That's what I want to know. I would love for them to explain why they did this. Because other than an incentive to loot, I don't understand what possible benefit they thought that this added to the game.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
And it's so RNG. But cool. Next, on a brighter note, proximity chat is dope. As expected. This is something I didn't need to really play to realize. But there have already been a couple funny tweets of streamers prox chat shit talking each other in the middle of a gunfight. This is cool. This is funny. I'm a big fan of prox chat. People will say it's abusable. And you could like troll streamers by saying racial epithets or streaming DMCA-able music in your prox chat and stream sniping them. These are things you can do, but it's definitely going to be a setting to just turn off prox chat. So this is not a problem at all. Yeah. And therefore, prox chat is only a good thing. I'm glad they added it. It's funny. It's fun. Not the biggest deal, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what J God said in his video too. He's like, if you don't want to be bullied, he's like, if you don't want to be bullied, just you can turn the setting off. Like that's true because streamers are gonna want to leave it on, but of course that's going to get ruined right away. No big streamer will be using prox chat 3 days into Warzone because people will purposely be saying racial slurs or playing, like you said, DMCA music to get them in trouble. Just straight up troll them, and that will happen. So my Black Helicopters take is that Activision is doing this so that they can ban more players for saying like racial things in the game, because you'll be able to report people that way probably. It's a Call of Duty game, so probably not. But in Tarkov, if someone is saying something toxic in VoIP, you can literally open up your menu and report the person who's talking in VoIP at that time. So you don't have to be killed by them. You don't have to find their name, nothing. You can just report them through VoIP. I don't know if this will have something like that, but if you're worried about it, just turn it off and simply don't get cyberbullied online, because it's the COD community. Every kid will have his microphone at the back of his throat saying the N-word constantly. If you don't want to hear that, turn it off right away.
I will, of course, Tanner and I both, of course, will be leaving that thing on, and we will have the slider in our settings at 100% for prox chat.
I'll be screaming at people. We're going to make a commercial for the Dropshot podcast. Yeah, we're doing it all. We're gonna VoIP kids and be like, listen, if we wipe you guys right now, you have to go join our Discord and subscribe to our Patreon.
We absolutely will.
Like that, So yeah, I like prox chat. It's excellent.
It's gonna be fun. I hope there's a setting to do toggle prox VoIP, because I want to be able to talk while I'm pushing a team, and I'm not going to be holding a keybind while I do that. I want to be able to like press T, and then my mic is hot, and then I press T again, and my mic is now cold. I hope that's possible, because I don't think that's a setting right now in COD for like teammate voice. There is like a voice activity where your mic is like always hot, and then if you talk loud enough, it'll be transmitted. Obviously, I'm not going to have that on for prox chat. That would be dumb. But I would like to be able to toggle VoIP. I hope that'll be possible. Or toggle prox chat VoIP. But we'll see. I don't know. I also have a Go XLR and a million things I could do to... I could probably do it myself, but hopefully that'll be a setting we
out, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Next is the looting system. This has been a very contentious... not even contentious. Everyone pretty much hates it. Topic on Twitter, which is the new looting system. So... in Warzone 1, you find a box, you open the box, all the shit that was in the box is now on the floor, and then you can just hold a button to pick it up. And that's it. But in this game, when you open a box, instead, it'll show your backpack and also the inventory of the box as if it was like a separate backpack, and then you loot things that way. So none of the shit drops on the ground. It just opens a menu of items that are in the box. And if any of you have seen any gameplay, you're familiar with what I'm talking about. Pretty much everyone doesn't like this, and they preferred the old system, from what I'm seeing. It's a lot more like, funny enough, Tarkov, the way it is now in Warzone 2.
It's like how Apex's looting system is, I guess.
Or like Apex. Yes, exactly. So... and importantly, for keyboard and mouse, there was no setting that anyone I watched had enabled, which leads me to believe there's no setting at all, where you can open the box and then press a hotkey to automatically pick up everything inside or something. You have to like literally go click on it, which is really toxic. So most people don't like this. And then there's also a tweet again from Ralph's Valve that bears mentioning, and this is something to keep in mind. Someone asked him, what about looting in crate boxes? The looting at next seems so slow and not as fluid as Warzone 1. Ralph's Valve replied, looting was strange. Looks like they ported over their DMZ system to Warzone 2 for COD Next. I recall in an earlier build of Warzone 2 that crates would fire open items like in Warzone 1. So it would throw everything on the ground. So maybe that will come back. I don't know. But what were your thoughts on this looting system that we have right now, that we saw at the alpha?
Again, totally unnecessary. So the other thing is, there's also just loot on the ground. There's guns on the ground, there's ammo on the ground, there's lethals on the ground, there's tacticals on the ground, there's armor plates on the ground that you can just run around and pick up, of course. So then you have to run up to these other chests like we currently have now, that currently are definitely spread more thin than Warzone, it seems. But you have to hold down a button to open that up. Then it opens another menu that can have like up to 5 items in it. So it can have like a gun or 2 guns, stack of ammo, whatever else. Then you have to slide over whatever you want and pick it up. that way instead of just going on the ground. It's just entirely unnecessary. You should open the chest and it just drops on the ground like in Warzone now. This is insane that, again, why change something like that?
Yeah, it's weird.
Someone in Discord said they saw someone say, or they saw in the settings that you can change this so that it just opens everything and puts it on the ground. I never saw a single person do that. I haven't seen a clip of it. I haven't seen...
Yeah, it's fake news, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just entirely fake. The biggest thing for me is, like, already now, like, the buy station shit is so bad on keyboard and mouse, having to go through, especially now, fucking scroll down in Warzone, use my scroll wheel to go all the way to the bottom, whereas controller can just press up once and be at the bottom. And then I have to click on something that's a little tiny bar across my screen as I'm getting shot at by someone in flinching IRL. I'm trying to buy something and I can't. This, I think, is the same thing. It's like I'm going to have to open this up, and then wherever it fucking spawns my mouse cursor, I'm going to have to go over, decide what I want, click on it. Whereas, like, controller, you can literally be getting shot at and just keep pressing the A button as you press left or right to grab the items real quick. To me, it's just another shitty looting type mechanic that is a lot worse for keyboard and mouse players. That's like the first thing I noticed. I'm like, oh, this is literally going to be awful having to go through that system. So I hate it. Unnecessary, makes everything worse. This is something I can see them changing.
I agree.
To just automatically open everything, so I'm not too worried about it. Out of all the things that I don't think are good about the current state of what we saw in Warzone 2, this I'm not worried about. I think this will be changed, and so the way that you open up a chest and it drops it all on the ground.
I completely agree. There's enough backlash to where they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So, like,
there's
yeah,
no
this
reason
is,
to make this change.
I agree. Yeah, this is pretty cringe and bad. But so many people are seething about it that they'll just change it. Probably on launch, it'll just spit everything out like it does in Warzone 1. So, I don't think this is a cause for too much concern. I think you guys can settle down on this particular topic.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't really care that much. Next is the player count. In the alpha, there were 102 total players per match.
And it was trios, yeah.
And in trios, yes. This was obviously too few people. The games were fucking slow in the alpha. I guarantee you with 100% certainty that this will not be the actual player count on launch. There will be more players on the biggest Warzone map we've ever had than 102 for every mode. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. I'm positive 102 is not the final number for solos to quads.
Certainly hope not.
Then, though, the question becomes, what ought the player count be? What do we think it will be? And my suspicion is 150. That's how many players I think they're going to start with, based on the size of the map and what we have, like, right now in Caldera. I think there's going to be 140 to 150 players on launch. And I think that will play probably pretty well.
Yeah.
It'll be in line with Caldera and shit. That's my guess.
It's funny because do you remember leaks from like a long time ago were saying 200? It was going to be 200 player? Yeah.
No. There's no chance.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'd ever be 200. But yeah, 100 is obviously way too low. So the more I thought about it, I actually kind of just realized this morning as I was writing notes. I actually feel like they lowered the player count on purpose, because COD Next had about 200 people, 200 creators, whoever they were, Twitter users, invited to this event. TikTokers, yeah. And so honestly,
streamers and OnlyFans models, yeah.
Ninja, who hasn't played Call of Duty in 4 years, yeah.
Not COD players. There were about 10 COD players invited, yeah.
Yeah. None of the people on the winning, I think, CDL team from this last season got invited either. But yeah, Ninja was there, of course, doing his rounds, streaming on his 18 platforms he streams on. Anyways, I actually feel like they lowered the player count on purpose so that there could be 2 lobbies going at a time. because there were 200 players. The lobby was 102. If they were doing 150 players in trios or something, how would that have worked? There would have been like 50 players doing nothing the entire time. And that's not good for them content-wise, because that means there's going to be 50 players out of the event playing in a game with 50 players. That's not exciting to watch. So this very well could have literally been purposely because of the amount of players that were at the event. Because obviously this was way too little. I mean, some of these teams would land and not see another person for like 8 minutes. Actually, it was insane.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
So I think that's the reason. This will undoubtedly be buffed. I feel like maybe they'll start like at something 130, 140, 150, or like 130, 140, go from there. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think 150 would be a good number.
And I'll also add, this is not an important point, but I'll add it anyway. This was fine for the purposes of showcasing the game.
Yeah,
it wasn't so few that it like was absurd.
Yeah.
It was enough. It was lower than it should be for actual live play, but it was enough to showcase still gunfights and shit like that, and then also gives people a lot more space to just kind of get acclimated to the new game. So it was fine for them to do this. I think that was fine. And Tanner's probably right. So they could have 2 full lobbies. Yeah.
And it was, I mean, in typical Warzone fashion, 5 to 10 people crashed every single time too. So
of course,
that's still in the game if you were wondering.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Next up here, a little bit about my thoughts kind of on the map overall. Not a ton of thoughts. Wasn't paying so much attention to the map as I was trying to figure out the UI and the gunplay and whatnot. But what I saw, overall, the map looks good and the layout seems solid. It's not heavily elevated like Caldera is. There are areas that are like that have a lot of hills and stuff, but for the most part, when you kind of look down into the lower areas of the map, it's all the same height everywhere, which I think is good. Water doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge issue. I mean, you can't sit underwater and fire your sniper rifle out of it.
I saw very little water gameplay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
That's a great point,
I don't know if I ever saw anyone in the boat. Because, like, the map is so big. That's what we've been saying. It's like the water on the southern side, I feel like so often is going to be out of the zone within a few minutes anyways. Yes, there will be times where the game ends down in that water area, but probably more than half the games, that whole body of water is going to be unplayable within 5 minutes or so. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. You know, there are vehicles that, there are boats that have mounted machine guns on them, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, you're kind of, if you're in the water, you're kind of stuck in that little region. You're not going to have any cover. You're going to have to come out of the water eventually. The person out of the water is going to have the advantage 9 out of 10 times as you're sitting there trying to fire your pistol or something, and they're just on the little sandy hill right above you shooting down at you with a fully automatic gun. You're going to just get fucked. So I don't think water is going to be an issue at all. Visibility looked fine overall. Of course, not the best that I would want it to be. There was some sun glare I noticed when they were looking a certain direction, but nothing nearly as bad as like what we had in Verdansk 84 with the sun glare, the dust particles in the air when you looked east.
Verdansk 84.
If you were on the east looking west, you had the gunfight advantage every single time because of that reason, because you could see and they couldn't. So the only kind of negative thing that I noticed about the map so far is it didn't feel like, the best way I can describe it is it didn't feel alive. Like, that's something I felt right away with Caldera, and I think the devs even pointed that out, is they wanted it to feel like somewhere you would go. They wanted it to feel like a lively island, like downtown was really cool, Resort was a really cool POI. I mean, Capital is in downtown. I'm not saying they necessarily played well or didn't play well. They were very interesting looking POIs. They were very detailed on launch, and they became even more detailed as the game went on. This felt very empty. I don't know if you noticed this. When these guys were like looting random POI buildings, they'd run in like this big building that's in the middle of the desert. That's like a sandy color. And the inside was just barren. There was nothing in there. It was very boring looking, like no detail anywhere at all. And I really didn't like that part of it. I didn't see a bunch of gameplay of like people going downtown, so I'm sure that had more detail. But like these little random parts of the map, totally barren, too boring looking. Really reminds me of the PUBG desert map when you get out into like the middle of nowhere. The buildings are just fucking empty. and it's just not something interesting to look at. Not a big deal, but that's just something I noticed right away coming from Caldera. Again, not saying Caldera is a better map than this. It feels like a more alive map, and you feel more like involved with it or something, I guess you could say. And then last thing on that is everyone keeps comparing Warzone to how this alpha looks. And you just can't do that. The best way to compare what we're seeing right now is to go back and watch gameplay of week 1 of Verdansk. The way people were moving around, how slow people were looting, how slow the matches were, what people were using, how, I mean, Stadium was still closed at that point. We had circles ending on the top of Stadium when you could only get up there from a helicopter. If you were downstairs, you just lost the game because you couldn't get in. There were a bunch of issues like that. So you have to think, that's how this is going to be. The map is going to be worse on launch than it will eventually become. Caldera got good for a while, and then it got bad again because they ruined it with other, like, cheese mechanics. But you have to compare how slow everything is going so far to how Verdansk looked, I think. And too many people are, like, comparing it to how everything we have in Caldera right now with balloons and whatnot, or how Verdansk ended. Just don't do that. I promise you right now, go back and watch Verdansk gameplay from week 1. It will look so much different than anything you ever remember. And that's what you need to compare Al Mazrah. What is this called?
Yeah.
That's what you need to compare Al Mazrah to. That's the best thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, on the topic of the map, I actually didn't spend very much time even thinking about it, which is probably a good thing. So I was watching the gameplay. I've seen a considerable amount of Warzone 2 gameplay, and I really didn't once think about the map except for one time. And that's probably a good thing, because if the map is simply just some place, then that's kind of exactly what I want. So that's a good sign. And now when I actually do think about it, yeah, the map seems pretty good overall. Big standout to me is that it has a lot of variety. And if you had to compare it to Verdansk or Caldera, it is definitely more similar to Verdansk than it was to Caldera. However, Observatory is really high up there. Observatory is more similar to Peak than anything Verdansk had. But, unlike Caldera, the entire fucking map isn't giant 90-degree fucking angle hills, which is really good. There's a variety in terrain. There are some very steep hills, but it's not the whole fucking map like Caldera is, which is a very good thing. And so there's variety in topographically, but also in terms of what the POIs are like. Downtown is very different than Observatory or fucking Quarry, which is another good thing. So that variety is good. And again, topographically, there's a lot of variety. A lot more variety than Verdansk, which was largely just flat with buildings. And then a lot more variety than Caldera, which is all 90-degree inclines and declines that are very sharp and cringe and annoying.
Yeah.
So that is really good, in fact. I quite like the map based on what I've seen so far. Visibility, I'm going to wait till I play. I don't know. It looked better than Mercado, I can tell you that much. But who knows? I'm going to have to play the game to give you guys my thoughts on that. I have no idea. But there weren't any glaring visibility issues from me watching other people play Warzone 2, which was very good.
Yeah.
Fuck, what was I going to say?
The other thing,
and last topic, the water. The water did not seem to even be relevant from all the gameplay I've seen.
yeah.
Now, again, I will reiterate. There will be times where I'm gonna lose because there's water on the map. There's gonna be a match I would win if this wasn't water, but because this is water, I now lost. Because I'm rotating in from X, other team is rotating in from Y to the final circle, or this fifth circle. And the way I have to rotate in, I have to dive into a lake. And the way they have to rotate in, they have to ascend a mountain directly overlooking the lake. And I'm going to lose because and only because there exists water on the map, and I'm gonna fucking shit my pants in rage. That's gonna happen. However, it seems like that's going to be a fairly rare occurrence, and I can put up with that. If that's the case.
Happen less than you died to not being able to get up a mountain on Caldera, though. I can guarantee it.
Exactly. Precisely the point. Yes. That's precisely the point. There's always going to be some RNG trash in a BR. In this case, sometimes it's going to take a watery tack, but that, whatever. If it doesn't happen often at fucking all, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because outside of scenarios like that, the water seems to be largely irrelevant, which is exactly what I want. Again, I would prefer there be no water on the map at all, but if they're going to add it, at least make it irrelevant, which is what right now appears to be fairly irrelevant. So yeah, I'm not nearly as concerned with this as I once was, which I'm thrilled by. But I haven't played yet, so we'll fucking see. Because if a circle's ending on the southern end of the map, that could be like circle 4 is half water. Which isn't that bad. Because then it's just going to be like a really small fourth circle. No one's going to go in the water voluntarily. So I don't know. I'll have to play more, but I'm not as worried about it as I once was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we'll be chilling with it.
Yeah. Next, another thing is black sites. So this is something that's been talked about. I don't know if officially ever, but leaks, I think, maybe officially a little bit. I was watching an Ink Slasher video where he was talking about, if you capture a stronghold, you're supposed to get like an icon for a black site, but there's no information on that, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, wait, what? The fuck are black sites? I didn't see them. They weren't in the alpha that I saw. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what their relationship is to a stronghold. I don't know if completing a stronghold leads you to a new icon for a black site. I'm fairly sure I've heard about black sites prior to watching this Ink Slasher video, but I don't know what the fuck is going on there, and I have questions about it. Do you recall anything about the black site thing?
No, but I just looked it up and I found something from a Games Radar article. It says Infinity Ward has also teased that you'll find a location of black site areas in strongholds that contain even cooler stuff inside. So it sounds like Warzone 2 has its own version of Warzone vaults. So maybe you clear a stronghold and then it tells you there's a black site area and then you go there and maybe you take like a key or something and open it up.
Or something.
Something. So there we go. Sounds like it's just a better area of loot inside of a stronghold.
Okay, if that's the case, that's probably just not going to be super relevant. Mm-hmm. It'll be like Warzone vaults. Like when we had the vaults in Verdansk where you put in the pin code and you could access it. They were super strong. There were a limited number of them. They really weren't used that often. Really didn't impact the gameplay that much. They were very good regain opportunities. Overall, I think they were fine. But not that big of a deal. And not as integral to the game as a stronghold itself will be. So if that is true, which it sounds super plausible, on paper, I'm fine with that. I think it's, in fact, kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I like it too, actually.
So that's cool.
A couple other things here from me. Two things. The loot seems like it spread super thin and also bad, and the cash seemed very low. Now, both of those things don't matter. I'm just pointing them out because they're things I noticed right away.
Yes, I agree.
Those will absolutely get tweaked. I mean, Raven was tweaking money in Warzone until 2 months ago, basically. And they probably still do every patch and just don't tell us. So those things don't matter. It's just something that I noticed right away. That kind of goes along with how the map felt barren to me. Is there was like not much loot. It seemed like you'd run in like, I think at one point I was watching, I think it was Huskers again, and he was in like, it kind of looked like a mall. And he was like running around on the upper level of the mall, and it was like there was escalators going down and shit, and there was just like, he was running around up there, and there was just like no loot anywhere. He was running all around. There was like not a single item anywhere to be found. So
it was probably airport.
May have been, yeah. But either way, stuff like that will get changed. That's just something I noticed right away. Mm-hmm. Those are things to not worry about at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have nothing to add on this.
Yeah.
I agree. It seemed like, yeah, it's not that much loot. Okay, so next thing here is a huge fucking nickyoung.jpg. A real big question mark for me. One thing we've been talking about a lot on this podcast, especially since Caldera came out, were all of the quality of life improvements that they had made to Warzone 1 and continued to make from Caldera till now that were really good. And my biggest sticking point with all of this was, this is cool and all for Warzone 1, but the best part of this is that now we know they're going to do this for Warzone 2. Because of course they will. And yet again, I underestimated Activision. So let's talk about a couple of good quality of life changes we got to Warzone 1 post Caldera. We got balloons. Those were very cool. I could do without them though. You really needed them for Caldera, but I could
that
do
was
without
just
them.
for Caldera, pretty much. Yeah.
So that's fine. Whatever. We got an updated UI where I could see how many plates my teammates have, how much money my teammates have, etc. What kind of kill streaks they have, etc. None of that exists in Warzone 2. A manual gas mask feature, which, although it has some flaws, is ultimately better than not having the feature. That doesn't exist in Warzone 2. Oh god, there are definitely more things. What else?
The only thing I've noticed, the only quality of life change Raven has made that I've noticed so far is how the armor plate behavior works. So before
that they did implement in Warzone 2.
Yeah, so that's in Warzone 2. It used to be if your armor plate 1 was 85% and you applied another armor plate, it would take that to 100%. So you'd be plated once. They changed it during like season 2 or 3. If your armor plate 1 was like at 80%, you added another plate, it would take you to armor plate 2 at 80%. That's how Warzone 2 works right now. It does that same thing. That's literally the only quality of life change that Raven has made this year that I noticed was in Warzone 2, which is extremely disappointing. Yeah.
What else did they not carry over?
Well, some of the stuff we don't know, like gas masks, you could like drop them and stuff. The manual thing, we don't know how that works. Let's see. Able to change if you revive in the prone versus crouch. That never ended up mattering much. Also doesn't work correctly. What else do they do? The armor plates. Increase mantle height. Well, that doesn't matter for this map, probably.
Yeah,
I can't think of the other. I feel like we're missing some big ones. Maybe not.
We might be, but I don't think we are actually. Because a lot of now that I'm thinking of the other quality of life things, it was like parachute deploy height.
Yeah, it was shit that needed to be fixed for Caldera.
Exactly. And I think that's pretty low in Warzone 2. I think you can like deploy your parachute super low. So I think maybe a lot of them actually did carry over. So I perhaps overstated the case here. But still, why is there no manual gas mask feature? And why is the UI so dog shit? I should be able to see how much at least money my teammates have. And then all the other shit too, like if they have a gas mask or not, if they're holding streaks or whatever. And if that's too much with the new backpack system, your teammates can be carrying a lot of shit. So maybe you can't put all of that on the HUD. But if I open my backpack, I should be able to see the contents of my teammates' backpacks as well. At the very least. And then even when my backpack is closed, I should at least be able to see how much cash my teammates have. And then again, the manual gas mask feature. I don't know why they'd make these quality of life changes to Warzone 1 and then not port them to Warzone 2. Maybe we will get those things by the time Warzone 2 comes out, however. So I'm not hugely concerned with this. Because even if they don't come out on launch of Warzone 2, these are two things that would be relatively easy for them to add for like season 1.5. And that would be fine. So I'm not hugely concerned with this, but it is a big question mark for me. Why is there no manual gas mask feature? Even in the alpha, that should be in by now. It's weird that it isn't. Or maybe it was and no one bothered doing it because most streamers don't have it enabled for Warzone 1 either. So maybe I'm just missing that. Maybe it was in and none of the players used it. I don't know. But something to keep in mind. The UI was very lacking for teammates. You see their health, how many plates they have equipped, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, did it even show their money?
I believe it did not.
Huh.
I believe it did not.
Yeah, it's seriously lacking.
So.
Yeah, when it comes to like the UI actually in HUD, I think that'll be very much improved shortly.
I agree.
But yeah, these other things, I guess, I mean, for Raven to be making some of these changes they made like in the last 2 months, it was like, damn cool. We wanted that 3 years ago. And it's like, cool, we get that now, then we're going to have it going forward in Warzone 2, and then we just like don't. Like, all right.
Another thing, by the way, I guess I deleted this. Oh no, I just skipped over it. Warzone 2 has private lobby codes. So you create a custom lobby and it generates a code, and then you can give that code to whoever you want. And then all they have to do to join your lobby is press custom match, join an existing match, type in the code, your lobby code, and they join on you. This is fantastic. This should have been in MW 2019 day one, but this will be a feature of Warzone 2. That is a new quality of life thing that I am very pleased to see. Kudos to Activision for implementing this very easy, common sense feature that other games that are 15 years old have had. Good job. I'm glad that's going to be in the game on launch as well.
I just hope it's
fantastic.
It's not something weird like that was only in the game for like this private alpha that they did. So
I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the other thing that I was wondering is no one mentioned anything about like if you could customize these private lobbies, but it must be because, you know, someone at iDub formed the lobby, because that would have been really good info to have if there was any sort of customization like there is in multiplayer. We can change things like, you know, health totals,
ground
bunch
pool,
of things.
shit
Yeah,
like that.
So many settings they could make. Player counts, not needing 24 players to start a match or something. So we'll see what they add there. But they've been lacking in that aspect for a long time. So hopefully get some improvements.
Yeah. And then that's kind of it. So now I'm going to kind of wrap up my impressions here. To me, the Warzone 2 Alpha seemed it just seemed like it was missing something. It seemed very unpolished. Like, it seems like it seems, again, like literally like it's lacking something that they intend on having in, and it's just not there yet. Like there's some hole that they will fill on launch that they didn't fill for the alpha. It seems like it's quite literally unfinished. Not in the derogatory sense, but in the sense of like, no, listen, they literally plan on having other features or other things in the game. They just didn't enable them yet for the alpha. That's the impression I get. It seems like quite literally unfinished and intentionally unfinished for the alpha. This is good and bad, depending on if I'm right and depending on what's missing. So this could be really good if the things that they haven't included that they will end up including by launch are things like maybe loadouts or maybe UI improvements. Player count will definitely be one, etc. Could be bad if the things they want to add are typical a Ted Timmons idea. If they want to add that and they just omitted that from the alpha, but that will be in at launch, that would be really bad because every idea he's had has been negative for the game. So for example, infinite self revives, fire sales, shit like that.
Log tokens, extraction tokens,
prison breaks or jail breaks, things like this. So, and it could also be bad if I'm wrong and this is actually the finished product, and that on launch we're gonna have the exact same game we saw in the alpha. That wouldn't be the end of the world, because with an increased player count and as people learn more, and optimize their play style and all of that, and the ground loot would be probably amended and shit, that could be fine. But it did seem to me like there are some things that they will have in launch that they just are holding back, or that they've held back for the alpha. That's kind of what it feels like to me. That I feel a void when I watch, but I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Overall, I am very neutral, and I really think I just have to play this game to give my overall take on it, because at the very least, you can buy your own custom loadout guns, and that is the biggest thing Warzone has going for it over other BRs. And if I can at least do that, which I will be able to, this has the potential to be a lot of fucking fun. And further, it definitely feels different than fucking Season 5 of Caldera Warzone, which is a very good thing. There aren't infinite self-reses. There aren't fucking bomber planes.
There were a lot of self-reses.
There were a lot of self-reses.
Like, everybody had one, actually. It was insane.
Fine. But there weren't bomber planes. There weren't fire sales. There weren't armored Berthas you can seat swap on. There wasn't peak. There wasn't redeploy extraction tokens. There wasn't an infinite amount of money or streaks. So that makes me overall quite excited. Number one, I can at least buy my own gun. That's the biggest benefit of Warzone that will be maintained, so I'm happy about that. And number two, it is lacking a lot of the utter dog shit Ted added to Warzone 1, which is very good. I don't want all of those things I just mentioned, such as bomber planes and rage serum and all this other dumb fucking trash. So I'm very excited, and it feels very fucking different than Warzone 1, which is precisely what everyone's been asking for, but then a bunch of people get wild on the TL when they get what they wanted, which is a wildly different gameplay experience. So overall, I'm optimistic, cautiously, but I'm also very, very, very excited, and I really want to fucking sink my teeth into this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is why it feels unpolished is quite literally the loadout issue, because people aren't getting a loadout right away. So the gameplay we're seeing is just people running around trying to loot and figure out what to do instead of going and fighting people right away because they get their loadout guns. So I think something will be done about that, whether you can buy your loadout guns maybe a lot quicker because there's so much money or something. Something will change with that. It's not going to stay the way it is. But I think that kind of, in turn, what makes it feel so like slow and empty and unpolished right now. Let's see what else. It is very, very different, which is what we've been asking for. Yes, that's a really good thing in my opinion. Whether it ends up being worse or better, that's to find out. But that's what I want to do. I want to figure out if it's better or not. I want to know that it's a lot different. It was very cool going in and watching these guys trying to figure out what to do, how to play the game. Gives you Warzone 1 vibes, like, you know, first few months of Warzone 1. You know, now it's like when a lot of the content creators got to test like Caldera, what are they doing? They're picking up guns, slide canceling all around, getting in gunfights, because they already knew how to play the game. So this is like we're all going to be learning again from scratch, and I think that's the most exciting thing, is figuring it all out together on the same playing field, learning what's meta, learning what's trash, finding the good guns, finding the optimum backpack strat like we were talking about, whether it's carrying 5 kill streaks and a stack of AR ammo or, you know, something. You can maybe even cheese it where you give everyone on your team all the money and then everyone else holds a bunch of other shit or something. There's a lot of things you can do with that that we'll have to figure out as time goes on. So
that's a good point.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to hopefully play a game where it's more team-oriented for a while instead of just a sweat solo splitting. It was fun for a while. It's exciting for a little bit. But, you know, all in all, I play video games to play with people because that's what's fun about them. Video games aren't fun. It's playing with other people make them fun, and so that's what I'm excited to experience with Warzone 2. So I think overall we got what we wished, which was a very different experience. A lot of the things, I'm kind of on the edge about. As I was talking about, the map seemed barren. When you were talking after that, I was kind of looking through some other screenshots and stuff. I must have just, whenever I was watching people, they weren't going to the good areas. Downtown area looked really cool. There's like rivers flowing through it. It's really pretty looking. A lot of detail in certain areas. So the people I was watching were just landing in the middle of nowhere, I guess, and going to the shitty dumb
They were
buildings.
landing at POUs, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there was a lot of detail there. I just didn't personally see it. But yeah. I'm excited to just learn it all together, figure it all out.
I'm excited, and I'm a lot less worried than I was on Thursday.
Same.
So that's a good sign for me. But ultimately, it's going to depend on how it plays, and we will find out when season 1 launches.
Also, it doesn't matter. Everyone complaining about it, you're all still going to play it.
That's of course
just like
true.
you do Warzone 1, you know? So
yeah,
you're playing it either way.
Yeah. So, all right. That's it, ladies. And also, gentlemen, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Patreon.com/the Dropshot. Now is arguably the best ever time to join the Patreon if you've been considering it. We offer the public episodes ad-free and earlier than to everyone else, than to the peasants who are not patrons. We also do bonus episodes, and this month and the coming months, as MW 2 comes out, are going to be chocked absolutely fucking full of really, really strong bonus episodes that we are very excited for. In addition to that, if you're just some guy listening, now is still a good time to just keep listening to the regular ass episodes. In the next 40 days and beyond, there is going to be a ton of really good, juicy shit to talk about on the podcast for our regular ass episodes. Just like we did today, there's a lot of good fucking content coming up that is going to be coming out of the Dropshot. So go to thedropshot.com, find links to everything there, follow us on Twitter for our schedule, join the Discord for our schedule, and to link up with us in the community. And then again, if you want to support the show, get ad-free eps early, get bonus eps, come to our monthly hangouts. Patreon.com/the Dropshot is the best and only way to do that. So check it out. Again, you can find everything at thedropshot.com. Thank you all for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember, stay humble.
Stay humble.